It's over for Apple TV Plus, the spending spree. I need to clarify that, I think. This is Neon. This is Clownfish TV. Geeky sitting this video out. We're going to talk about Apple conceding the streaming wars, I guess, to Netflix. Apple is no longer spending the massive amounts of money on streaming that they were spending. I keep forgetting Apple TV Plus is a thing. I'm going to be completely honest. Like, we subscribe to it and there's nothing on it I watch. I think I watched the Peanut specials, or no, that's why we subscribe to it. We subscribed to it because they had the Peanut specials on it. And then I just forgot to cancel. But I don't watch anything on Apple TV Plus. Some people said there's good stuff on there. I know they have the Fraggle Rock reboot, which I don't know if I want to watch the Fraggle Rock reboot because I love Fraggle Rock, and I can't imagine them topping the originals. But who knows? We're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Yeah, I got to point out this is not Moki Fraggle. I don't know what's going on here. Apparently, they redesigned Moki in this series, and she looks like a preschool teacher now. It doesn't look like Moki. The original Moki, of course, looked like this, and she was kind of like the Lisa Kudrow, I guess. If the Fraggles were friends, she would be Lisa Kudrow, I think, of the Fraggles. But let's go out to the story here. This is coming from The Verge. Apple's not going to spend a bunch of money on stuff nobody's watching. Apple's original content spending spree might be over. They're reportedly pushing to make its streaming business more sustainable following production losses across the industry. Now, here's the thing. Apple has infinite money, and if Apple is throwing in the towel on streaming, then companies that don't have nearly as much money as Apple will probably follow suit. And I think they're conceding to Netflix. I think Netflix does what it does better than anybody else. Nobody else has come close. Disney's tried at great cost to them, but I don't think it's working for most of these companies. I don't understand. I don't understand the thought process. You know, they all wanted to, instead of just creating content, they wanted to own the store too. Instead of just selling in Walmart, they wanted to be Walmart, and now they've blown themselves up in the process because they couldn't compete with Netflix. It's coming from The Verge. Apple's known to spend billions of dollars on Hollywood projects, but that could be set to change following production losses across the streaming industry. According to Bloomberg, Apple's Senior Vice President of Services, Eddie Q, is pushing their studio chief, Zach Van Amberg, and Amy Ehrlich to oversee project budgets more closely in a bid to make Apple TV Plus sustainable. Apple invested heavily in individual projects compared to larger streaming companies like Netflix, having spent over $500 million on movies from Martin Scorsese. Okay, Killers of the Flower Moon was on Apple. Napoleon was on Apple. And Argyle was on Apple. While its original projects get plenty of attention during award season, Bloomberg reports that Apple TV Plus is attracting fewer views per month than Netflix averages in a single day. Let me repeat that. Bloomberg reports that Apple TV Plus is attracting fewer views per month than Netflix gets in a single day. So yeah, you're talking 1/30th of what Netflix gets. According to the figures reported by Nielsen, Apple TV Plus accounts for 0.2% of U.S. television views, which is dwarfed by Netflix's 8%, as it struggles to encroach on Netflix's viewership figures. Everybody forgets about Apple. They all talk about the streaming services. They talk about Tubi more now, too. They're talking about Tubi, and they're talking about Disney Plus, and they're even talking about HBO Max, but nobody's talking about Apple TV Plus because it doesn't really matter. It's such a small percentage of people that are actually watching Apple TV Plus. Apple's now quicker to cancel its original projects compared to when the Apple TV Plus service launched in 2019. The company is also licensing more content from competitors to reduce its reliance on original series and has delayed production on shows like Foundation in an attempt to remain within budget. And this is Apple. Again, this is a company that's sitting on billions and billions in cash. Like, Apple's probably the most well off of like any company on the planet, right? I mean, they're flush with cash, and they're even like, yeah, we're overspending and we're not getting a return on our investment. So if Apple can't hack it, who else is going to be able to compete, right? And I think, I mean, Warner Brothers, you can kind of trace a lot of their problems back to chasing, I believe, chasing streaming. They did do HBO Max and all that, but it seemed like they were canceling a lot of things, pushing a lot of things to streaming. They bought a whole bunch of stuff like Otter Media. They bought like Crunchyroll and Rooster Teeth and all this like internet stuff. They didn't know what to do with it. And I really do believe that these studios would have been in a much better place if they had just created content and kind of stayed in their lane. But they all wanted to be the next Netflix, and none of them had the resources to be the next Netflix. That's hard to say. Next Netflix. There we go. None of them had the resources for that. Apple maybe could have done it, but they were spending, I think, too much per project and not enough. You know what I'm saying? Like they weren't spending on promotion, because I keep forgetting Apple TV Plus exists. I think they did the Tetris movie. I wanted to see that, and I never did get around to seeing it because I forgot Apple TV Plus exists. And again, I have a subscription. It's on our Roku TV, and I think I've watched it maybe 3 times, and I simply forgot to cancel it. It's like $5 a month. I forgot to cancel it. So anyway, I think that's probably the case with a lot of people, where they get it with their phone or their iMac or whatever. It says unclear how many people actually watch Apple's original programming, since the tech giant won't even share figures with people making its shows. That's interesting. They're not even sharing the figures of the people making the shows. Apple TV Plus hasn't been as quick to lay off staffers compared to Disney and Paramount, though, and the money brought in by selling iPhones and other tech hardware makes it difficult to know how much pressure the studios are under. Again, they have a lot of not really disposable income. There is no such thing, in my personal opinion, as disposable income, but when it comes to a business. But they do have a lot more of a cushion than other streamers do. Other than Comcast, I mean, Comcast has a lot of cash too, but they can absorb the losses better. So, I think we're at the end of the streaming wars. I think it's it. I think Netflix won. In fact, this Bloomberg article basically said, this is the original Bloomberg article. They said that Netflix extended its lead. They said there's a growing sense in Hollywood and on Wall Street that Netflix has built an insurmountable lead. Management doesn't see things this way, considering the company only accounts for about 8% of TV viewership in the U.S. Well, that's more than twice to the next closest paid streaming service. It's a little behind YouTube. It's also behind several competitors in total viewing, if you include broadcast and cable. They said whether or not you believe Netflix has won the streaming wars, the company feels secure enough in its position to curb spending. So they're cutting back too. Management is looking to restrain budgets for shows and push down the premiums paid to producers. Netflix says it will increase its budget in the future. And there are always projects for which Netflix will overpay, but the company will increase its spending at a lower pace than sales. In other words, profits will keep going up. Netflix is confident it can deliver an audience and equally confident in the weakness of competitors. Yeah, Netflix doesn't have to spend as much now because everybody else is bleeding out money. So people wonder, like, when is Disney going to get it together in the theme parks, when they can't afford to rest on their laurels? And this is why competition with companies, it's great for consumers, because you have more choice, you get more sales, more deals. But once somebody has won, once it becomes basically a monopoly where they have a comfortable lead, there is no reason to keep competing. And this kind of takes us back to the Disney theme park argument. Why is Disney not doing anything really, really cool with a theme park? Why are they content to just refresh rides? Why aren't they maintaining things as well? Whatever. Because they don't have to yet. Now, next year, they're definitely going to have to. I think if Epic Universe comes in and it's like, yeah, they're totally eating Disney's lunch, then they will be forced to spend more money. But these companies don't want to spend any more money than they have to make a profit. Because again, when you're publicly traded, you've got to show profit quarter after quarter, year after year. And how they do it is by raising prices. How they do it is by cutting back on expenses. And the only reason Netflix spent the money it spent in the last couple of years and greenlit some of the shows they greenlit was in a mad dash to stay in first place, which they're in first place now. So whatever, you know, but it could be like the tortoise and the hare too, right? They could get cocky and then get lapped. But they said, yeah, the challenge for many of our competitors, including Apple TV Plus, is that while they are investing heavily in premium content, it's generating relatively small viewing on their streaming platforms. Yeah. So everybody's cutting back now. So we pretty much had peak streaming TV, and this is going to lead to a dearth. Can I say dearth? It's going to lead to a dearth in Hollywood jobs, because so many of these jobs were, you know, coming about because of this streaming arms race, right? And it's over. And Netflix won. YouTube won. YouTube was never really in it, but they definitely won, because they're still the top streaming service, if you want to consider them a streaming service. And then we've got, you know, these free services like Tubi that are eating everybody's lunch, and they're ad supported, and it's over. So I think a lot of this content, even this Apple content, might wind up on some ad supported service at some point. I mean, Warner Brothers is doing that. They've got entire Roku channels of Warner Brothers content now, including a lot of the stuff that was for HBO and HBO Max. So I don't know, guys. Maybe we all better get used to watching reruns if you're not already watching reruns, because it might be that we don't get as much new stuff. But given the quality of a lot of the new stuff that's coming out, that might not be a bad thing. So I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.